Hello guys, I hope you all are doing good. I am Vishali Kikan and we are discussing the VLSI technology. Today in this video we are going to discuss about the diffusion process in detail. So we are going to see how we can make the doped region with the help of the diffusion process in any semiconductor chip. Okay, so I hope you all have seen the previous video. Actually this is the second video on the diffusion. If you have still not watched the first video where I had already discussed about the introduction and the nature of diffusion, it is highly recommended that you go back and watch that video again. Okay, so now coming back to this video, so we are going to see how we can make the doped region, N-type or P-type doped region with the help of diffusion process. So now I hope you remember what I had already discussed in the previous video. I had already discussed the diffusion with the help of three processes: the diffusion in gases, the diffusion in liquid and diffusion in solid. The diffusion in solid will occur with the help of the formation of alloy. The solid atom can move from one solid to another solid and it can form alloy. Okay, the diffusion in liquid was explained with the help of the ink. So ink can spread in the water with the help of diffusion. The diffusion in gases was explained with the help of the perfume example. I hope you remember it. So I hope now you remember the diffusion is the most common physical phenomena which is occurring from the region of higher concentration to the lower concentration. I am not repeating it now. So silicon dioxide is the thing that is I am using as the diffusion mask. I hope you remember the photolithography process and how we made the mask in the photolithography process. So now I have silicon dioxide and some masked region with the silicon dioxide after the photolithography process. So if you have any doubt in the photolithography process, you can watch those videos also. Those are available. Now it was the widely used technique for semiconductor doping, but now it is replaced by the ion implantation technique due to various disadvantages or limitations associated with this technique. So I am going to discuss the various disadvantages why we switch to the ion implantation, that we should know. Okay, so now after that we are going to discuss the diffusion furnace in some upcoming video as well as the diffusion bay, with the help of which I can make this process happening in the real world. So this is the illustration of the diffusion doping. So here you can see we have the silicon substrate over which I have placed the dopant in a very high concentration. Now when I am giving the high temperature, there will be the dopant which is moving from the higher concentration to the lower concentration, which is inside the silicon. Inside the silicon the amount of dopant will be very less and it will be easily moving from its surface to inside the silicon with the help of diffusion process. And now the junction depth represents the depth up to which this dopant is moving inside the silicon substrate. So now this is the graph which shows the junction depth. Okay, so this is the junction depth that we have. This is actually the dopant concentration. Okay, so the dopant concentration is increasing like this. So if I am increasing the distance from the wafer surface, so the dopant concentration will be decreasing. So you can see it here. On the junction we will be having very high concentration of the dopant. As soon as we move inside the junction, so inside the depth of the silicon, inside it we will be having the less amount of dopant. So you can see it here. Now coming to the diffusion using the silicon dioxide mask. Okay, so you can see this is my oxide layer. Okay, so this is the silicon dioxide layer that we have. This is the mask that we have formed with the help of photolithography process. Now after this process we are moving to the diffusion process, and with the help of diffusion process we have this P-type of doped region formed here. Okay, so now you can see it. So now diffusion is replaced by the ion implantation due to the less process control. We cannot actually control the amount of the diffusion, amount of doped region that we can form. Actually we cannot control even the lateral movement or the in-depth movement of the dopant atom. Okay, so the dopant atom can move in any of the direction, which means the dopant atom is moving in the anisotropic form. So diffusion is an anisotropic process, so we don't have any higher control over this process. So it is replaced by ion implantation. It is still being used in the drive-in for the well formation. For the well formation, we don't require a very high process control, and for that I can easily use the diffusion also. This diffusion process is occurring at a higher temperature. Dopant atom diffuse fast at the higher temperature. So if I see the equation, D is equal to D naught exponential minus EA by KT. So if I increase the temperature, the diffusion rate will be faster. Okay, so that I can say if I am increasing the temperature, the diffusion process will be happening. So I have always diffusion process occurring at a high temperature in the IC fabrication. So at the high temperature, there will be various degradation occurring in the IC as well. So that is not required. So smaller device geometry, less room for dopant thermal diffusion, less thermal budget will be there. Okay, so I cannot control each one of them. Each one of them are the disadvantages. We have smaller device geometry, so I cannot actually control the geometry. So the diffusion profile, as I have already told you, diffusion is occurring in the lateral direction as well. We are making a bigger transistor. What I want to make? I want to make a smaller transistor. So this is a disadvantage. We don't have more room for the dopant thermal diffusion, because at the higher temperature the silicon chip will degrade. Okay, it will be converting into some another type of material. So I have very less room for the temperature fluctuations, and we have less thermal budget as well. Thermal budget determines the time and temperature of the post implantation thermal processes. Okay, so how much time we require after this process and how much temperature we require after this process. So you can see the thermal budget over here. So you can see in the source and drain implantation. So here you can see we want this particular straight type of profile, which means we want the diffusion in one particular direction only. But due to higher temperature, the diffusion is occurring in the lateral direction also below the gate. That is undesirable, and this is why we are avoiding the diffusion process. So you can see the graph of the thermal budget. Okay, so you can see it here. This is the temperature in the x-axis. Okay, so this is the thermal budget here. Okay, so as soon as I am decreasing the temperature, you can see that the thermal budget is increasing. So now you can see the thermal budget is directly dependent upon the temperature. If I decrease the temperature, thermal budget will highly increase. So this is the reason we are avoiding the diffusion process. So diffusion doping process means both dopant concentration and the junction depth are related to the temperature. There is no way to independently control both of the factor, and we are getting isotropic dopant profile. But what I wanted an anisotropic dopant profile, the dopant profile in the particular direction only. So this technique was replaced by ion implantation after the mid 1970s. So now diffusion doping process, we are using the silicon dioxide as the hard mask. We are depositing dopant oxide over it. So dopant oxide is a very thin layer of oxide that we are diffusing over it, so that there will be high concentration of dopant over the surface. Then we are using the cap oxidation to prevent the dopant diffusion into the gas phase. So if I have the dopant that is coming inside the silicon substrate, it can go back into the environment as well. To avoid this possibility, to avoid the removal of the dopant atom in the gas outside the silicon substrate, I am using a cap oxidation layer. Okay, after that I will be doing the drive-in process, in which the dopants are moving inside the silicon substrate. Okay, so now coming to the process, we have the oxidation process. After that we discussed the photolithography process, and then after that we discussed about the oxide etching. Now we are discussing about the diffusion process. So before that, you must know about all of them. We have already discussed about all of them, and if you have any doubt in any one of them, you can go back and watch them. So now here we have the mask. Okay, so with the mask we are making the doping in the particular region. So we have various reactions here like B2H6. B2H6 will be reacting with the oxygen atoms and it will be forming the B2O3, which is boron oxide, and this boron oxide will be reacting with the silicon and it will be forming the silicon dioxide, which is used as the cap oxidation layer. Plus this boron that is released here, this boron will be diffusing inside the silicon. So this boron will be in higher concentration over the silicon atom. So this boron oxide will be making my silicon to the silicon dioxide and it will be making the boron for the diffusion also inside the silicon substrate. So it is serving my two purposes. It is forming the cap oxidation layer. It is giving me the dopant atom in the higher concentration over the silicon surface. Then what can happen, the H2O gas, water vapor can react with the silicon and it can form the silicon dioxide, and in this process the hydrogen gas is released. Okay, so this process is done to maintain this cap oxidation layer. Now after that the drive-in process will be there, in which this boron atom that is formed here will be diffusing inside the silicon substrate. Okay, so now coming to the dopant penetration of the phosphorus as the dopant. So I have already shown you the reactions for the boron. Now coming to the reactions of the phosphorus. We are using the POCl3. Okay, so 4-POCl3 is reacting with 3O2 and it is giving me the phosphorus oxide plus Cl2. So this Cl2 is a pungent gas and we have to have proper exhaust for it. Okay, now this P2O5 will be reacting with the silicon and it will be forming the silicon dioxide for the cap oxidation, as well as it is giving me the phosphorus for the dopant drive-in process. Okay, now phosphorus concentration on the silicon surface will be high because here I have the 4 atoms of phosphorus that are formed on the surface. It will be going to the drive-in phase where we are increasing the temperature and this phosphorus atom will be going inside the silicon substrate. And now when it is going inside the silicon substrate, it will be making the doped region inside the silicon substrate of N-type. Okay, so now coming to the system, what kind of system we have for the phosphorus diffusion. Okay, so here you can see we have processed nitrogen gas, we have purged nitrogen gas, we have O2 gas. Okay, oxygen gas is also required, and then we were using the POCl3 gas. Okay, first of all we will be sending the purged nitrogen gas, then we will be sending the processed nitrogen gas. In the processed nitrogen gas we will be sending the various wafers, then we will be sending the POCl3 and O2 gas, and all of the reaction will be taking place. After that we will be sending these wafers after the diffusion process has already happened to the burnt box, and after that we will be sending it to the scrubber, and all of the waste gases will be going to the exhaust. Okay, so now coming to the process, you must understand all of the process steps. So you can see first of the process step is the wafer cleaning process. Okay, so in the wafer cleaning we can use any type of wafer cleaning process. I hope you have seen the previous videos where I have already discussed about the wafer cleaning. After that we have the oxidation. Now I am not repeating again what is oxidation. We have the silicon dioxide layer over the silicon substrate, and this is the oxidation. Now coming to the doped area patterning. With the help of photoresist, I am using the patterns. I am making the patterns using the photoresist. I am changing the properties of the photoresist and I am making this pattern over here. Okay, so this is the pattern with the help of photolithography process. Okay, so after that we have to etch out the silicon dioxide because I have to deal with this silicon substrate, so I have to remove the silicon dioxide layer that is present over here. Okay, so I have to etch this layer. After that now we have the silicon substrate which is exposed to the environment. Now I can do the processing with this silicon substrate. Okay, so now after that we will be stripping off the photoresist because it can hinder and it can do the contamination in the upcoming steps. So I don't want the contamination, for that I am removing the photoresist layer. After that I will be doing the wafer cleaning so that all of the particle of the photoresist is now removed. After that I am making the cap oxidation layer, that is the dopant oxide deposition layer, and whenever I have the dopant oxide like B2O3 and POCl3, with the help of POCl3 I can use the P2O5, and when we have B2O3 or P2O5, we have the deposition of B2O3 or P2O5, which can react with this silicon and form the silicon dioxide for the cap oxidation, and here I will be having the higher concentration of dopant atoms. Okay, so you can see here we have the cap oxidation layer. Okay, so now when we have cap oxidation layer, after that I will be doing the drive-in process, in which I am giving the higher temperature, so that I will be having the doped region inside the silicon. So this is a very simple process. Now you can see the various parameters, the phosphoric oxide deposition and the cap oxidation, what all steps are there and how we are managing all of the things. So first of all, we have the push, in which we are pushing the wafer inside the furnace. The temperature is minimum here. We are having the nitrogen flow, which is the process nitrogen flow. Then we have the POCl3 flow, oxygen flow. Okay, and the wafer position is increased. Wafer is positioned inside the furnace. Okay, so now wafer is moving in the push step. Now we are increasing the temperature while keeping all of the parameters same. Then we are doing the temperature stabilization, all of the parameters are same. Now in the dopant deposition, we are reducing the nitrogen flow and we are increasing the POCl3 flow and the O2 flow. Okay, so then we have the cap oxide formation. In the cap oxide formation, we are keeping the oxygen flow higher, but POCl3 flow will be reduced and the nitrogen flow will be increased. Okay, then we have the nitrogen vent out step, in which I am keeping all of the process steps same, only I am decreasing the oxygen rate. Okay, so after that we have the ramp down, in which I am decreasing the temperature, all of the things are same. After that we are pulling out the wafer. Okay, so we are pulling out the wafer here and we are decreasing the temperature. Temperature is now at the minimum level. Okay, so you can see we had already formed the cap oxidation layer. This is the cap oxidation layer, which will be preventing the outward motion of the impurities from the silicon substrate towards outside environment. Okay, so this is the drive-in step. So in the drive-in step, what will happen? The impurity atom will come and they will accumulate inside the silicon substrate. So it is making the doped region inside the silicon substrate. This is the drive-in stage, in which I am just increasing the temperature while the impurities are present in the higher concentration over the silicon dioxide capped oxidation layer. Okay, so this phosphorus will go inside. Now we are stripping out oxide layer. This SiO2 layer will be removed and now the wafer is ready for the next step. Okay, so now you can see these are the various things that are happening in all of the phases. I have already explained all of them. So in the drive-in, you can see the temperature is high, nitrogen flow is less, the oxygen flow will be high, and we are having the wafer inside. Okay, so now coming to the limitations and the applications. So diffusion is the isotropic process, which means it is happening equally in all of the direction, and it always dope underneath the masking oxide. So we always need this cap oxidation layer for this doping process. So we cannot independently control the junction depth and the dopant concentration. This is a very big limitation, because we want to make the transistors or MOSFETs in our own size and shape, so that we cannot do with the help of the diffusion process. It is used for well implantation drive-in process, and we are having R&D for ultra shallow junction formation. So USG is a very advanced technology that we are having R&D on. With the help of diffusion we can form USJ or not, that is a big question. So now application of diffusion. First of all, we are using the drive-in process for the diffusion process. Okay, so for diffusion to be happening, I am using this drive-in process. So well have the deepest junction depth. We cannot have very small junctions with the help of diffusion process. So whenever I want deep junctions, I can use the diffusion process. It requires very high ion implantation energy. So very high energy is lost if I am using the ion implantation. On the other hand, diffusion can do it very easily. So if I have deep junctions, I can use the diffusion. So cost of mega electron volt ion implanters is very high. Even the diffusion process is very cheaper as compared to the ion implantation. Diffusion can help to drive dopants to the desired junction depth while annealing also. So annealing process as a separate process is not required. Inside this process also annealing will be happening, and I will be discussing about the annealing in a separate lecture. So we don't require annealing as a separate process. So you can see with the help of the ion implantation how the phosphorus ions are moving inside this silicon layer. So this is my epitaxial layer. It is not even crossing the epitaxial layer. So this is the N-well that we have formed. But if I want to form the N-well with the help of diffusion process, you can see we have a much deeper N-well formed. So for the formation of wells, the diffusion process can be easily used, whereas ion implantation will be costly and it will not be giving me satisfactory results. So now coming to the diffusion of boron for USJ formation. I have already told you USJ formation is very difficult with the help of diffusion process. So small devices will always be needing ultra shallow junctions. Boron is small and light, and whenever we have implantation with the boron will be moving in a very deeper layer inside the silicon. So whenever I have boron atom, it is hit on the silicon substrate. Because boron is very small, it is coming with a very high energy, it can go very deep, but I want ultra shallow junction. So for boron I can use the diffusion process instead of ion implantation process. Okay, but in the diffusion also we cannot form very small junctions, so I have to control the junction depth, and for that R&D is going on the boron and formation of ultra shallow junction with the boron with the diffusion process. So boron is small and light, implanter energy could be too high for it to go too deep, and we require controlled thermal diffusion for ultra shallow junction formation, and there is R&D going on. So now coming to the surface cleaning. Okay, so you can see this is our STI layer, okay, shallow trench isolation layer, which is separating two transistor or two MOSFETs. Okay, so this is my silicide layer, this is my side wall spacer. I hope you remember all of these terms. I have discussed about all of them in the etching. Okay, so first of all I am going to do the surface cleaning with any of the cleaning mechanism. Okay, so then we will be having the borosilicate glass deposition with the help of chemical vapor deposition. So this is my borosilicate glass that I have deposited over the surface. Then we will be having the rapid thermal dopant drive-in. Okay, so we are using the rapid thermal process for the dopant drive-in. So now the dopant will be driving inside the silicon substrate and it will be forming the doped region here. Okay, so this doped region we have formed inside the silicon substrate. Okay, now after that we will be stripping off the BSG layer, because now we don't require it, and after that again we will be forming the cleaned surface. So now coming to the actual diffusion steps. So these are all of the steps that are required for the diffusion process. First is pre-clean, to remove the particles and to grow the thin oxide layer. We are making the pre-clean process, okay, because there should not be any contaminant particle that is present after this process. So pre-cleaning process is really important. After that we have the etching with the hydrofluoric acid. Hydrofluoric acid will be etching out the silicon dioxide. So to remove the oxide layer we are using the hydrofluoric acid. So we don't require this process to be continuing too much, because it will be removing the silicon dioxide layer as well, which is underneath the silicon dioxide. So it should be in the controlled manner. After that we have the pre-deposition step, in which we are depositing the dopant oxide, the phosphorus oxide or the boron oxide on the substrate of the wafer, and we are depositing enough dopant oxide to be in the higher concentration than the solubility limit. It should not be in the solubility limit. After that we have the drive-in phase. In the drive-in phase we are just giving the higher temperature to enable the diffusion that is occurring inside the silicon, and it will be forming the silicon dioxide also. Okay, so in the driving phase only we are forming the cap oxidation layer also. Okay, so here after this process we have the doped region inside the silicon. After that we don't require the masks that we had, so we are removing all of the silicon dioxide layer that we had. So oxide may be acting as the dopant sources in the future step, because these oxide also may get contaminated with the dopants, so I have to remove these oxide layers. So I hope now you understood what is the need to for the removal of this oxide layer. So removing highly doped oxide may be very problem for the dry etching purposes. Okay, so we can use some advanced method for the etching. So I hope you have seen the etching videos and you can understand how we can remove the highly doped oxide layers. So these are all of the steps. So this is where I stop this video. So these are the references. I hope if you have any doubt you can refer these books, and if you want to discuss this topic in detail, these books are really amazing. So I will be stopping here, and further if you want to discuss any doubt with me, you can put the doubt in the comment and I will be happy to help you. I will be trying to revert as soon as possible. Okay, so I hope you like this session. If you like it, please push the like button, subscribe to the channel, and also do share it with your friends. Thank you so much.